Mr. Chandrashekhar from Adilabad asked us on our mail about the need for the bass, treble, and the mid knobs on your integrated amplifier. Well, before we get into the need for these knobs on your amplifier, let us understand what these terms actually mean. To better understand that, let me bring out a graph on the screen. Here is a graph that represents what exactly is a frequency response. In a typical three-way speaker that you see on that side, you would have three drivers, one playing all the bass region, second that plays the mid-range, third that plays the treble. Treble is, or the treble driver is mostly called as a tweeter. The mid-range driver is of course called as the mid-range driver or quacker, and the bass driver is called as a woofer. To be in a strict sense, woofer doesn't play the complete bass, it plays only a part of the bass. We'll get back to which part of the bass it plays in a couple of minutes. But to begin with, you see this graph. This graph has three regions on the top, and on the y-axis you see the decibels. Uh, the decibel higher you go on the decibel range, it represents the loudness of that particular sound. And on the on the x-axis, you see the frequency range. It starts from 20 hertz all the way to 20,000 hertz. Not that you cannot hear anything below 20 hertz, or you do not have a sensation for anything below 20 hertz or anything above 20,000 hertz. You would definitely be able to feel it. For example, let's say you come back from your office after a long day of work, and let's say you play a movie. There is a movie, I remember that particular movie. um, Maybe I'll speak about that movie in a couple of minutes. I'll try to remember the name while I explain the rest of it. When we play that movie, there is a tone which goes all the way down till like 14, 15 hertz, and people who have a good subwoofer that reproduces this frequency, they often complain saying that in the beginning of the movie they just feel nauseated, they just feel like puking. That is because even though they can't hear that sub bass frequency through their ears, they can actually feel their stomach, which is filled with air, the gas, and the lungs, they are vibrating and clashing each other, and that makes them feel like puking. um, Interstellar, the starting of the movie in the Interstellar, yeah, you should definitely watch that movie in the beginning, at least to understand what I'm telling, and especially while you're fasting, probably in the late evening after you fasted for the whole day. You would definitely feel what I'm saying. Yeah, coming back to this, mm, the woofer. Woofer generally plays frequency in the mid bass region all the way till the upper bass region. This bass frequency, mid and treble, is further subdivided into three ranges each: the low bass, the mid bass, upper bass, and low mid range, middle mid range, and upper mid range. Lower treble, middle treble, upper treble, and anything above it is called as a uh, supersonic or hypersonic frequencies. What is it? Supersonic frequency, I think that's what it's called as. And lower bass, anything below lower bass, that is below 20 hertz, is called as infrasonic frequencies or infrasonic waves. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think I need to jog my memory back in my what high school textbooks. But yeah, you can definitely feel those frequency not through your ear but through your extrasensory feel. Um, yeah, your woofer that you see in the three-way speaker will typically reproduce anything from the second half of the mid bass frequency there, and it comes all the way till upper bass, up till let's say 120 hertz, or sometimes it even covers the lower mid-range till 300 to 400 hertz, and the mid-range will probably pick up the frequency response from middle mid-range and go all the way till lower treble. Sometimes it stops at upper treble. I've seen some mid-range drivers which go all the way till middle treble as well, and the uh, tweeters take up from upper treble. So it depends on the designer's understanding and the ability of the material that they have used uh, in the driver and the box manufacturing, that will dictate which driver can reproduce which frequency range accurately. Coming to the lower bass is the frequency which is generally diverted to the subwoofer. Anything below 120 hertz is better reproduced through a subwoofer because it will have a good what ability to give a higher decibel ratings for the without actually creating distortion. If you try to reproduce that lower bass using a regular woofer, trust me, you're going to burn the woofer's coil and you will come for reconing or probably replacement of the driver. So it is better not to reproduce the lower bass frequency in the woofer, but you divert it to a dedicated subwoofer. That is one of the reasons, but there are also other reasons. The lower bass frequency, which is below 120 hertz, loses the directionality. What do I mean by losing the directionality? And the having the presence of directionality and losing of the directionality, that makes an important point for a next video that is coming up. Probably there is somebody from Uttaranchal who has asked this particular question to me. I'll jog my diary and I'll come back to you with the person. So coming to the question by Chandrashekhar ji, if your what amplifier has the uh, knob to adjust the bass, mid and treble frequency, that is because when a mixing engineer mixes his music in the studio monitor, he will ensure that all the frequencies that you see here, all the frequencies that you see here, they are at the exact same loudness level when he is trying to mix it in his master audio. And when he tries to reproduce it before publishing it for the general public in a commercial music system, after mixing it in the studio monitor, he tries to reproduce it and try to listen to it as a consumer himself on a consumer grade audio equipments, and there he would actually be able to identify which frequency needs to be boosted to give the vibe for the music when the consumer is actually listening to it. So he comes back to the studio monitor and he raises some of the equalizer setting in that particular music, and that equalizer setting is generally called as a smiley equalizer setting. It pretty much looks like a smiling graph with two eyebrows on this side and a broad smile in the mid range. So he will try to reduce the decibel rating in the mid range and raise the decibel rating in the bass and the treble. Some audiophile consumer, they do not like this smiley face. They want to hear the flat response. So what they do is they will try to reduce the bass in the integrated amplifier, try to reduce the treble, or try to adjust both of them and increase the mid range and something like that. They will try to reproduce the flat response that the master audio of that particular audio file must have had with the original sound recording, and that is the actual use of it. If you really like to bump that audio, you can turn the bass knob all the way to the right and turn the treble knob all the way to the right and turn the mid bass all the way to the right, and you can still enjoy your music because we acknowledge not everybody likes exact same music. Not just imagine the world completely filled with one color, just white or just red, just because red looks good. If the whole world is filled with red, you would lose interest in everything because you won't be able to make out the pattern, you won't be able to make out the brightness and darkness and nothing. It just feels really dry. So we need people with lot of musical taste. That is how different genre of music can be produced and different kind of mixing can be done, different kinds of speaker can be manufactured. The world becomes colorful. And Chandrasekhar ji, hope I have answered your question from the bottom, and we'll definitely meet again. Keep writing to us.